Every now and then, the world of science and archaeology will uncover ancient secrets, artifacts, and discoveries that have origins so strange and mysterious that they are often seen as otherworldly questions that will never be answered. Many such discoveries are often dismissed by the scientific community or are argued to be completely out of the scope of ever being explained in a reasonable light. So today, here at Unexplained Mysteries, we will be shining a torch on such peculiar discoveries as we go over unbelievable artifacts found on Earth that researchers cannot explain. The elongated baracus skulls. One of the strangest and most terrifying discoveries ever made in the world of archaeology seems to center around a number of strange elongated skulls that were rediscovered near Baracus within Peru back in 1928, when Peruvian archaeologist Julio Tello visited the Pisco province and discovered more than 300 elongated skulls that were found in what was considered an ancient graveyard on the Baracus Peninsula. The discovery of elongated skulls is not a new one in the realm of archaeology. However, as a number of ancient cultures were known to deform the skulls of newborns as they developed to create elongated heads as a form of higher social status. Such cultures include that of the ancient Mayan civilization as well as the enigmatic macrocephali, also known as the Longheads, of whom were a race of people described by Hippocrates and a number of other ancient writers and historians all across history. What makes the discovery of the Baracus skulls inherently different, however, is that a 2014 DNA analysis of the recovered skulls showed that the gathered DNA from the remains contained mutations that supposedly did not match any known human or primate DNA samples ever previously recorded. Although the DNA testing was immediately put into question by the scientific community, the lead researcher, known as Brian Forster, the assistant director of the Baracus History Museum, stands by the peculiar results and asks for those within the scientific community to confirm his findings and take their own tests to show the validity of his claims. He posits the theory that the macrocephali were, in fact, an alien race not native to the planet Earth, and were, more importantly, an ancient advanced civilization that worked to manipulate the human race during their time. Additionally, Brian Forster points to findings in the cranium, such as the lack of sutures of the skulls as evidence of their alien nature, as even cases of hydrocephaly or other known mutations still possess a variation of the sutures that do not exist within the Baracus skulls, proving them not to be the product of cranial deformation or genetic mutation. Depictions of ancient Egyptian giants. Back in 1901, archaeologists discovered the remains of the ancient Egyptian king Sarnact, of whom was the ruling pharaoh during the Third Dynasty of Egypt and was often regarded in ancient Egyptian depictions as being one of the single most powerful Egyptian pharaohs to have ever walked the earth. It was this power that often saw King Sarnact depicted roughly 7 times larger than others when portrayed on ancient hieroglyphs. Archaeologists had often believed that the more powerful a king's influence was, the larger he was depicted, and so often argued that the size of his hieroglyphs were not indicative of his actual height and was more a representation of his power. It was not until his remains were discovered that the theory was put into question, however, as the skeletal structure and size of the ancient king showed Egyptologists that the ancient king Sarnact was actually a victim of gigantism. Gigantism in the scientific world refers to a special condition in which an individual experiences excessive growth hormone during their childhood, usually caused by an adenoma, known as a tumor on the pituitary gland. In the modern day, this has led to individuals ranging in height from 7 feet to an incredible 9 feet tall, with the largest recorded height only recently made in 1940. Another interesting fact to look at is the depiction of the builders of the pyramids in ancient Egyptian hieroglyphics. It is a common fact known amongst Egyptologists that the ruling class of ancient Egypt was often depicted as 2 to 3 times the size of the average population. This is believed to be due to the importance of the figure, and so it was a requirement to depict the ruling class in such a manner. However, it could be that these depictions were far more accurate than previously known, and the ruling class of Egypt could have been an advanced race of giants. Back in 820 AD, the Sultan al-Rashid al-Mamun dedicated to open the Great Pyramid, upon which he was told that the structure had been built by giants, who were referred to as the Shaddai, which roughly translated to superhuman beings, and that within these pyramids they had stored a great treasure beyond the knowledge of man. Given these strange discoveries of gigantism that researchers are only now beginning to understand in the modern day, there are many wondering if the ancient depictions of giants from the past could have been true depictions of creatures often seen as strange and possessing power that may not have been entirely human. The impenetrable Sacsayhuaman walls. Located at the northern outskirts of the city of Cusco, Peru, is an ancient Inca city with walls so impenetrable, built atop difficult-to-maneuver mountainous regions, that archaeologists have often had trouble trying to explain the creation of the city and the ancient building methods used for its creation. The site has often been referred to as an example of Cyclopean masonry, named after the ancient Greek mythology involving the Cyclops race that supposedly built massive and impenetrable structures by hand without the use of mortar of any kind. The Sacsayhuaman wall appears to have been built in the same way, utilizing massive stones, each of which weighing more than 128 metric tons, with the largest stone weighing more than 200 metric tons, without the use of mortar of any kind. When the site was first visited by the Spanish conquistador Francisco Pizarro, he described the location as the following. On top of a hill, the Inca had a very strong fort surrounding with masonry walls, of stones and having two very high towers, and in the lower part of this wall there were stones so large and thick that it seemed impossible that human hands could have set them in place. The stones were so close together and so well fitted that the point of a pin could not have been inserted in one of the joints. Additional text described that the compound was occupied with a number of rooms that were filled with arms, lances, arrows, darts, clubs, bucklers, and large oblong shields, which led many to believe that the site was still being occupied by a number of natives throughout the region. Oddly enough, archaeological evidence today shows that the site had not been lived in since roughly 900 CE, and that the remains of pottery and other goods were far older than anyone had previously realized. New dinosaur colors and designs. As paleontologists have spent the last several decades uncovering a wide variety of fossilized remains of prehistoric creatures across the Earth's distant past, they have made a number of incredible discoveries surrounding the classification of dinosaurs and their prehistoric behaviors. Such findings include full dinosaur skeletons, millions of individual species, modern-day descendants, and entire sites of sudden mass graves indicating periods in history of mass extinction events able to be clearly defined. Many of these discoveries helped the world of paleontology to recreate accurate depictions of such animals, with the sole exception that the colors of the species have long since been a mystery. Up until 2006, researchers believed that it would be impossible to ever uncover the mystery as to what a dinosaur's true colors were, given the fact that the pigments in the skin did not survive, and in the special cases in which textures of the skin were preserved or feathers of dinosaurs recovered, there was little proof as to whether the pigments recorded were the actual pigments of the dinosaur or were caused via chemical processes over time. Back in 2006, however, lead researcher Jacob Vinther made an incredible discovery surrounding fossilized ink sacs of 200-million-year-old squid species that demonstrated interesting ways in which the ink preserved itself over countless eons. This led to the research uncovering new methods at locating traces of color pigments that could have survived within the feathers of dinosaurs and could be worked with to recreate a more accurate depiction of the ancient creature's colors. Although this theory was immediately questioned, with opponents claiming that his findings were nothing more than fossilized bacteria deposits, it was not until 2010 that his findings allowed two teams to independently recreate the colors of extinct species, proving his findings. This has led to a number of new discoveries, with previously held theories surrounding colour and camouflage being completely thrown out the window as the true colours of long-forgotten species are being discovered for the first time. Previously held theories had assumed that dinosaurs possessed nothing more than dull colours of browns, greys, and blacks, similar to how large animals today, such as elephants and whales, possess such colours. However, using this new theory, researchers are now aware of the tremendously wide-ranging and bright colours used by ancient species, including the Anchiornis huxley, of which is now known to have possessed a bright red crest with black and white stripes across its body. But what do you all think of these unbelievable artifacts and strange discoveries that scientists from around the world have yet to explain or fully uncover? Be sure to leave your questions and answers in the comment section below and help us to grow this community while working to solve these unexplained mysteries. Thank you for watching, and don't forget to subscribe for more videos.